Welcome back to the Funke Adventures YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about how much it costs to build your own camper trailer. I've received a bunch of comments lately asking how much I spent to build my own camper trailer. I didn't really know the total until I recently tallied up all the receipts, and the total was surprising. Before getting started, a couple of disclaimers. It's important to note that the cost of this camper could vary greatly depending on which materials you use and which features are important to you. I know I could have built this camper a lot cheaper, but on the other hand, it would be very easy to spend a lot more money on a camper build. Like a lot more. If you are trying to do this on a budget, I feel you have to be very conscious of what materials you use, otherwise things can get out of hand very quickly. With that said, I do believe that my camper is a good compromise between budget-friendly and quality. While I could do it cheaper, my choices were very intentional for what my family needs. I will try to point out throughout the video some places where you could cut some costs and also some places where I will probably spend more money in the future. I will try to link to all of the materials I used in the description down below. A quick side note, if you find any of this information helpful, please hit that like button to help my video perform with the all-powerful YouTube algorithm. And if you'd like to see how I built this camper, or some of the adventures I take it on, please consider subscribing and joining our community. Also, feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. I tend to respond to all of the comments. Okay, first let's talk about the cost of the trailer itself. You can either purchase a pre-made trailer or you could build one yourself. A pre-made trailer could cost anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 depending on what you need. If you decide to build your own, you could save a lot of money, but you also need to have the tools and the skills necessary to build it. You might spend as little as $500. I'm lacking those welding skills, so I decided to just have a trailer built for me. But if you have the skills, my friends over at overlandtrailer.com have some kits that include all of the parts that you need to weld together your own trailer. So check that out. I'll link to them in the description below as well. I had a very basic custom-made trailer. It was a flatbed style utility trailer. The manufacturer wrapped the tongue for me in order to eliminate the side rails on the trailer. I had a 3,500 pound axle installed, and I included some beefy tires just to have a little bit more fun off-road. It's a 5x8 trailer, which is what I decided was the best size for me and my family. I ended up spending $1,818.53. That included taxes and registration fees. If you wanted to cut some costs here, Harbor Freight has a bolt-together 1,700 pound 4x8 trailer for $550. I wouldn't necessarily trust this trailer for off-roading, but for general highway travel, it should be okay. I would suggest upgrading your wheels and your tires just to make sure that you're safe on the highway. The wheels and tires that come with it generally aren't meant to go over 50 miles an hour, so you'll want to get some nice radial tires put on so that you can travel normal highway speeds. The next most expensive part of my camper build are the doors. I did what I could to cut costs here, but the wallet busting truth is that these doors are expensive. You could try to make your own doors out of maybe some wood and a window, but honestly the quality will be so much lower than these pre-manufactured doors. Since this is probably the most high traffic part of my camper, I opted to trust the manufacturer to make a quality product. I purchased my doors from Frank at Vintage Technologies. Their website is teardroptrailerparts.com. An insider tip here is that Frank sometimes sells doors that are damaged for a little bit cheaper. I opted for this, and when they arrived, they each had like a little scratch on them. It was hardly noticeable and completely acceptable for my home-built camper. I spent $774.75 on these damaged camper doors, and that included all of the shipping and taxes. That was a year ago, so prices may have gone up, but if you're interested in some of these damaged doors, check out Frank at teardroptrailerparts.com. Next, let's talk about lumber. For this build, I used 8 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood, a handful of 2x4s, 2x1s, and 2x2s, bringing our lumber total to $662.44. All of this was purchased at Home Depot. Lumber prices have been crazy over the last few years, but there really isn't much room for cutting costs here. You could potentially use OSB instead of plywood, but I don't know that I would trust it to hold up against the weather and time. Another large expense for this camper build was the aluminum siding. There are some less expensive options though. I've seen people use Phylon RV siding for their teardrop campers and their square drop campers, and it turns out really good, and it can be done for a fraction of the cost of aluminum. It honestly is something that I will probably try in the future, but I really liked the look of the aluminum, so I decided to stick with it. But please know that there can be some difficulties with it. It's super finicky if not done correctly. In total, I spent $420 on 7 sheets of aluminum, but I had to buy it in bulk. I ended up buying 20 sheets for $60 a piece. I used what I could for this camper. I also refinished another camper, and then I sold the remaining 6 pieces here locally in Utah. I also spent $260 on aluminum trim, making my total for aluminum siding and trim $680. My interior walls and trim are made of FRP board and PVC trim. I spent $245.82 on the FRP board and $61.08 on PVC trim. Next, let's talk about electricity. Having some form of electricity was really important to me. Rather than needing to turn on the truck to charge batteries or phones, I wanted to be able to do it in the camper. It's been really great to have electricity to power a heat blanket during the winter and our ceiling fan during the hot summer nights. I do feel like I did my electrical about as inexpensive as possible. The 2 most expensive parts of my electrical build were the solar panels and the battery. I went for the cheapest solar kit I could and the cheapest battery I could that would work for my needs. The battery especially is something that I will probably upgrade in the coming years. I purchased a Renogy solar kit, which included a 100-watt solar panel, all of the cables, a charge controller, and all of the mounting brackets. The solar kit cost me $165.33. I purchased my 105 amp hour deep cycle marine battery from O'Reilly's for $130. In the future, I'll get a lithium battery instead. Other components of my electrical include a ceiling fan, exterior porch lights, interior puck lights, wire, outside cafe lights for under the awning, a few miscellaneous electrical parts, heat shrink tubing, a battery monitor, a fuse box, interior and exterior USB charging ports, and some battery cables. I also purchased a tongue box to go on the tongue of the camper, and that holds all of my battery, my charger, and all of the fuse box. That was purchased from Harbor Freight for $150. I also purchased a comfortable queen size mattress for $176 from Amazon. I also purchased this affordable awning from Amazon for $160.77. I built my own roof rack using Super Strut for $108.32. The rear galley door is something that I would like to purchase from a manufacturer sometime in the future. That will likely cost me $800 to $1,000. Instead of forking out money for that, I decided to build my own. I spent $78.83 on a hurricane hinge, $28.99 on gas struts, $12.69 on the brackets that hold the gas struts, $17.89 on locking handles, and $23.12 on weather stripping. The total cost for the rear door was $161.52. I spent $83.68 on insulation for the camper and $24.88 on side vents. Shockingly, I spent $124.39 on caulk and different types of adhesive, $60.40 for primer and paint, and $209.21 for hardware, including bolts, screws, nuts, and all the little metal parts. That brings our grand total to $6,078.34. There are a few things like the roof rack, the mattress, the awning, the tongue box that someone could leave out if they were trying to save money. You could also use different siding and maybe only use 1 door instead of 2, and all of this may reduce your cost by up to $1,000. But they were all important things for me to have. While building your own camper trailer can be a significant investment, the freedom and flexibility of having your own camper trailer is well worth it. I hope you found this video helpful. As always, thank you for tuning in to the Funke Adventures YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.